Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February the 10th.
I'm Chris Jenkins from Marshall University's Huntington, West Virginia.
I'm Jeff Zayas from Napa, California.
And I'm Robert Taylor in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Hey, everyone. I'm Duke Carico, and on this edition of Tech and Coffee's Android Journal, we'll talk S6 rumors. Hey, the Google Genius Bar, and what about net neutrality? Sounds great, but is it? Hey, all this, apps, hardware, and more. Hello, everyone.
Hola.
Hola.
Hey, Chris Jenkins, long time no see. How you doing, bud?
I am just glad to see you guys. How about you guys?
Yeah, I can't complain here, man. Jeff, he's out there in sunny Napa, California. I'm sure he can gripe one or two.
Yeah, and when I do my little app, you'll see how sunny it is. But hey, Chris, thanks so much for filling in for Bruce Turner, who can't make it tonight.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, I understand Bruce has got a big hangout going public this evening, so he's otherwise incapacitated.
For all the regulars, Bruce, he works for a Christian healthcare ministry, and it's been a great week for Bruce. First of all, he got a new laptop that he's pretty excited about. But second of all, they're doing a big town hall, and he's doing it with XSplit, and he's been anticipating this for 2 weeks. So go, Bruce. Yeah, I'd say Bruce has more viewers than we do right now.
All the luck to Bruce, because he may need it with all those viewers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, let's talk Android. Last week, I gave a little hint that we would probably talk some S6 rumors this week. I've resisted. Rumors have been leaking for 3 weeks now on Samsung's new flagship device. But, guys, I've resisted because we're still a ways off from Mobile World Congress, I think 3 weeks now. But I thought, well, it's time. The leaks are happening. A lot of people starting to talk about them. So here's what we know, guys, and here again, these are all rumors. This thing is probably, here's the big news. We're going to have 2 models. One of them is going to be the S6. The other one is going to be just like the Note. It's going to have that edge on it. What we're looking at here is Super AMOLED LED screen. Hey, it's going to run on Samsung's 64-bit octa-core Exynos 7420 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of memory. Supposedly TouchWiz is going to be very, very reeled in on this device. We can only hope. And of course, it will be sporting Android 5.0 Lollipop. Hey, Jeff, I know that you've been in the market for a new phone, so when you saw this, did you think, hey, maybe this is my replacement?
No, not yet anyways. I breathed new life into my Razer Max, and I'm going to keep it for a little longer. But, for me, it's all about the camera and the speed of the processor, how fast it's going to react. And it looks like the camera will be able to do 4K, perhaps, which is kind of cool. So that might, edge it up. I don't care about the edge as much as probably I should. We'll see. We'll have to see it, touch it, feel it, play with it, touch it again, touch it one more time, and then touch it the 3rd time.
So, a lot of times, Chris, I'll ask you this question. A lot of times we look at these flagship devices, and I know at this point this is all just rumor at this point. But when we look at these flagship devices, at this point, do they make you want to upgrade, or are you pretty content with the last year's flagship?
Tell you what, I have done a no-no. I went from a Nexus to another flagship phone. Insert gasp here. I went to the Moto X 2014. Let me tell you, I have had, okay. I've had kind of a good experience with Motorola. Their customer service, it's hit and miss, but the phone itself is just flawless. You know, you have everything from, Moto Migrate to the Moto app itself. I'm not going anywhere until there's a Moto X 2015.
All right. Hey, Rob, what do you think about this device, man? Do you think, Samsung has suffered when it comes to earnings the last few quarters? Is this their Jesus phone?
I don't think they have a Jesus phone. I think what they need to do is cull the crop a little bit, like we discussed weeks and months ago. Kind of back up, get rid of some of the fluff and the ridiculousness. And I got to be honest with you, I think the Edge is kind of one of those ridiculous things. I don't think it's really been that big of a deal. So why are you coming out with this now on the Samsung, Galaxy S6? I don't get it. I don't understand that part of it. It certainly is not their savior phone. Will people buy it? Certainly. Are they going to be happy to see that TouchWiz has been pared down? Well, I've heard that for the last 2 years in a row. Oh, TouchWiz is pared down, pared down, pared down. But they still complain about TouchWiz. Nothing is going to be exactly like a Nexus device unless you buy a Nexus device. But, it's when their additions get in the way. That's where the problem is. And they've got a pretty long way to go, even being pared down now, to get back to, not being in the way.
It would be interesting to know what their sales are like with the Edge, if it's doing well or not, or they're just trying to push it down people's throats, because if it's the latter, then they haven't learned any of their lessons.
Well, I went to go look to see if I could see numbers on the Note 4 versus Note 4 with Edge. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any specific sales numbers. Now, granted, I didn't look super hard. I just I was kind of blown away that the Edge was included on the S6. And so I'm like, why? And then I went to look to see if was there some astronomical sales number out there that says that, hey, we should do this to all of our phones?
I don't know. What I do know is that my friend was in the market for a new phone, and he was trying to decide between the Nexus 6 and the Note 4. And throughout all my sales pitchmanship, he got the Note 4. Very disappointing.
Yeah. He got the what?
The Note 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert. Maybe we can Google it after a while and make sure. I'm thinking that the Note Edge, while it hasn't set the world on fire, it's kind of been offered as a limited device with a very high price tag, but they've been selling what they've been making. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, at this time, it's one of those deals where, Samsung comes up with an idea, they throw it out there and see if it sticks to the wall or not. And I think it's a good idea, but I don't know if it's a functional idea at this point.
Okay, and I'll buy that, but the argument is if we know that Samsung is suffering financially because they throw so many things at the wall, how about focusing in on what does work rather than continuing to throw something at the wall that I'm not sure works? I don't see anybody screaming and hollering it's a great idea.
Reinforce the glue that's already there. Don't throw more glue at the wall and hope the glue sticks.
Yeah, it could be as simple as they have excess inventory and they have to get rid of it, of something, and they're going to put it on this other line of phones because they have so much of the material left, or whatever the process is. Who knows? But I'm with Robert, man. I wouldn't get it.
All right, hey guys, did you see this week where Google is taking a page from Apple's playbook, and they're actually going to offer a Genius Bar-like experience virtually online. And this will give them a chance to share with potential customers some of the strengths and advantages of the Nexus line, the Nexus 6, the Nexus 9 Chromebooks. Personally, I think this is a genius idea, and they should have done it. No pun intended, by the way. They should have done this a long time ago, guys. I've always said that Google lacks very much in the customer service experience, the hands-on. And I don't think this can come soon enough. Rob, what do you think, man?
Well, the Amazon Fire jumped out there and put the, instant help button on their Fire tablets, right? And, I mean, considering how quick that went, and just people talk about that all the time. When they show me their Fire tablets, and they're like, oh, if I ever have a question, I just click here, boom, and instantaneous. So, will I think it'd be popular with users? Yes, I do. I do think it will be popular with users. But I question how effectively is that support going to be across all the multitude of Android devices?
It's not tech support. It's sales, pre-sales. So that's a different ball of wax.
Well, I understand that, but if somebody is asking for help on trying to decide between the Note 4 and the Nexus 6, how effective of information are you going to get there? It's not like somebody saying the Fire HDX, thing.
Yeah, but it's not so much as how do I. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Duke.
I was just going to say that is a good point, Robert. I mean, what does that say for Google search? I mean, if you got a question about a Nexus device, shouldn't you be able to Google it and get the answer?
Yeah, I mean, you have people out there like me that are fully supporting Google products. The Nexus 5, the Nexus 6, the Nexus 9, the Nexus 7, and really that's their only hype machine. My name's Chris Jenkins. I'm from a small town in Huntington, West Virginia. How much of a hype can I build? Like, but sure, there's thousands of people, 10,000 of people, 100,000 of people that like the Nexus devices, but how much hype can that generate?
But this is not the same as an Apple Genius Bar. It is not even close.
Well, no.
No, you can't book it. You won't be able to say, hey, I want to do an appointment and show me how to use my phone or help me set this up or do any of that. That's not what this is. If it was that'd be great. But right now it's just I'm thinking about getting a Chromebook. What's the difference of a Chromebook and a Dell? And
they actually have a 855 number for this now. All the Nexus devices do. I've had to call them quite a few times because of Google product related issues, and they were really bad at first, but after maybe a couple of years, they've gotten a heck of a lot better than they used to be. That's for sure. But hopefully, this Google customer service can kind of in the right direction on where it's going now. That'd be great.
Again, it's not Google customer service.
Yeah,
I'm
just saying. I'm just saying, like where I was coming from. The 855 number. I hope that they keep going forward, and I hope that this sales community can kind of better the Nexus community for the better.
Okay.
Well, I'm not trying to nix it. I'm just trying to put it in the box that it is. It's not the Genius Bar. You can't book it. You can't book a an hour session with someone to figure out something out and then do it. I love the idea that you can it's basically using Google Hangouts with a sales rep and talking about the different features of the phones or whatever they want, but it's not like Apple Genius Bar, I must admit.
I'm a little confused.
Okay.
It says are not available for tech support, which I get it, but you mean to tell me that all it is you're going to get to ask pre-sales questions, not how to use the device or make the most of the device?
At this point, that's what it sounds like this is about.
But then they say we're on a limited trial of an experimental support feature and gathering feedback they added. We aren't ready to share full plans yet. So that there sounds like there's a little bit more coming to this.
Hopefully,
I'd like
they can
to
give
know.
like an overview, of the devices. You have an iPhone, and you've been a solid iPhone user for this amount of years. Here's the difference between the iPhone and Android. Here's what you can do. Here's how to import your contacts. Here's how to do this. Stuff, simple stuff, not advanced user stuff like we do, or our users or our audience does.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
it.
good.
You summed it up right there, Robert. Yeah.
Eh.
Hey guys, one of the things that I have complained to Google about or complained about Google, is the fact that they will include a feature in an Android device, and a year later, Apple will unveil that feature at a keynote, and everybody talks about it and goes crazy about it. Probably about and in the end, it ends up helping Google and Android. About the best example that I can give you of that happening here recently was the Apple Pay versus Google Wallet. And, Google Wallet sales increased just as soon as Apple Pay went live. I think the reason for that is Apple has a well-oiled marketing machine. Google does not. They pretty much rely upon the advertising that's built into search and other Google features. But here lately, they've been making some commercials. They've been renting some billboards. But we have recently come across this new Google commercial. I've got the sound off so that we don't get taken down. But it is a very, very cute commercial with animals playing with one another. And these aren't just dogs playing with dogs and cats playing with cats, but they're all kinds of different animals. And what a warm and fuzzy feeling this commercial conveys. What do you think, man? Hey, Chris, you all about this?
Psychology, the psychology of this is great, because one of the strongest feelings you can get is the feeling of what you said, Duke. Warmness. The fuzzies. Whatnot. The number one is fear. Obviously, they don't want to fear your product, so let's go with something that's warm and fuzzy. That makes you feel empowered. This is basically saying not everybody is a dog, not everybody is a monkey, not everybody is an elephant, etc., etc. And they're basically saying, we have a phone for the monkey, we have a phone for an elephant, we have a phone for you, and it's just up to you to figure out what you want. It's great.
Be together, not the same.
Exactly.
That's the message here. Yeah, so Jeff, what do you think, man?
Well, first of all, these are kind of like I hate to say this, but these are a collection of YouTube videos that were already out there, right? And they just kind of put them together, and they did such a masterful job of them. It's the video has gone viral, and hats off to them, marketing this thing that way. I like this so much better than the Android yourself thing. This has a more impactful kind of feel to it, and everyone can relate to it. And when I see that parrot feeding a spaghetti to a dog, I'm going like, that's great, because I'm a dog person. So it was smart of them. They're getting smarter. They're getting better, and that's good for the Android operating system. That's good for Android devices, and it's capturing people's attention. So that's what it's about.
I think it's good for just the general population as a whole. Basically saying, hey, we're all different, but let's get along.
Well, I think I go a little bit one step further. I look at it as kind of a poke a little bit. Don't be a sheep and follow what everybody else does. We can all get along, but you don't have to be the same. You can be different, but be the same, sort of. And that is much like what Android is. All the different manufacturers, all the different phones and devices and tablets that are out there, and they're productive devices. You don't have to all fit into the iPhone category and be just like everybody else, where the only thing that sets you apart is how many rhinestones you have on the back of your cover. Right, Jeff?
I agree. I have many rhinestones on the back of my cover, but and you hit the nail on the head, And I didn't think about the metaphor of "don't be a sheep." That was very good, So and it's been maybe about 3 years they've been putting out commercials, off and on. They started to do it, and I think they're getting better at it. Their marketing is getting better, which is a good thing.
I'll tell you what, it just out of us four. We all have very much different phones. I'm guessing. Does Robert and Jeff have the same phone?
No, I have the same phone for 4 years, 5 years now. So.
Okay. All right. So see, I mean, even just within us, there's 4 people here, very small sample size, and that just goes to show you. I have the Moto X 2014. Robert has the Droid Max 24. Long time ago, 2011, 2012, something like that.
I got the 2014 Droid Max.
Droid Max, I'm sorry.
Jeff has the Razor Max.
Razor, yeah. I knew one of you guys.
That's 4 years old, or maybe 5 years old.
Yeah. And then, Duke, do you still have your Nexus 5 or your Nexus 6? Or?
Yes, I've got the Nexus 5.
So just in our podcast, we have 4 different phones, and it's just right for all of us.
And how many of us have rooted our phone?
I haven't rooted my Moto X because I don't need to. Amazingly.
3 out of the 4 rooted our phones, so that's another great feature of Android.
Have I rooted my phones? Yes, my Nexus 5 was rooted within 10 minutes that I had it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I'll be losing root here pretty soon when they push Lollipop 5.1. Hey guys, I need to correct something. Last week we talked about Radio Shacks going under, and there was speculation. We did mention Sprint, but the way that I focused was what if Amazon did it, and that rumor was out there. But since last week's show, we have learned that Sprint will be taking over 1,750 of Radio Shack's locations. And just wanted to revisit that and correct it, because even though Sprint was rumored last week, I focused on Amazon, and none of that has been spoken since this announcement. So I don't think we're going to see a Sprint/Amazon store. At least that's not the rumors at this time. So, hey, Rob, you want to jump in here and add anything?
Well, I tell you, I read the article, and it's kind of interesting. You titled it "Rest in Peace, Radio Shack." That's how they titled the article itself, and they went into the details about what's happening, and they're talking about, of the 4,000 stores, this is less than half that are going to get taken over, but they're going to become Sprint stores, and the rest are just going to fold up and go away. And then I got down to the comments, and the comments were unbelievable as how long it took them to actually go under. It's no surprise, because every time you go into a Radio Shack, it's practically empty. And some of them, there were kind of some wistful commentary there, but for the most part, it's like, no surprise. I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did. And if you think about it, That has been my Radio Shack experience. The last 3 times I went into Radio Shack, I walked out without buying what I went there for because they didn't have it.
Anybody ever own a Tandy computer?
I did.
Nope.
Never did.
But this reminds me of Circuit City, some strange sort of way. Where they just couldn't compete in the real world. And then they just kind of all of a sudden folded. And then I think Tiger Direct bought the online business, and it just kind of slid. Once the landslide started, that was it. Boom. See ya.
A little bit of retail history for you guys. Who owned Circuit City?
Didn't Sears own them, right?
Montgomery Ward.
Oh, Montgomery Ward. Okay.
Wow.
The last experience that I had with Radio Shack is pretty ridiculous. I was calling around to get prices for routers just to see, what was going on. And they had one that I wanted in store. I just wanted to make sure they had one in that store because, their online store is not very good. And I called in and I was like, hey, what kind of routers do you have there? And the first thing they said was Linksky, and I was like, okay, goodbye. If you cannot pronounce Linksys right, I will not be buying from your store. However, most of the people that I see that are commenting only use Radio Shack for like small things, like hobbyist type things, or an odd screw here or there, or a strange wire here or there. Which, if they went that route, that'd be cool. But they're selling all this other stuff that nobody wants.
Good, Robert.
I was just going to say, even the commentary said, selling an IC or selling a resistor here and there, doesn't matter how much markup you put on it, you cannot survive selling just that stuff. And that's why they've added all the things that they added, because they could not exist. The cost of doing business, selling a 25-cent capacitor, you cannot exist that way.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Mr. Duke.
All right, guys. Hey, let's move into our discussion topic for this evening. And quite a large announcement on FCC's net neutrality proposal. And Tom Wheeler, first of all, let me say that when he was going to be named as this commissioner for trying to get this job done, he was criticized by both sides as basically being a cable company hack. He was called names on several of the 24-hour news programs, no matter what your flavor of conservative or liberal. This guy wasn't popular. And basically he has come out here with a pretty tough article. I'm sorry, article's the wrong word, but he's got some pretty strong proposals. Robert, before I butch this any farther, jump in here and help me out, man.
Man, I got to tell you, I couldn't wait to have this discussion today because there's two sides to this coin. I'm just waiting for Jeff to open his mouth and tell me which he is, heads or tails. But since you gave me the opportunity to speak first, I will say I am for this. While I am normally against more government intervention, in this case, I think that the big players, the Comcast, the Verizons, the AT&Ts of the world, have had their way for far too long, and they're pushing around the consumer so badly that if our government doesn't step in to regulate, this is going to turn into a very, very big mess. Now, there are parts of Wheeler's proposal that when it goes before the FCC board to be voted on, I'm sure there's going to be some changes to it. But the biggest part of this is that his proposal is to push the oversight of communication companies into Title II, which pretty much makes them like a utility rather than an independent company, and gives the FCC a great deal more control over what they can and cannot do, like requiring other companies to pay them for preferred traffic and handling of service. I have a huge issue with the fact that Verizon gets away with, and I say this as a Verizon customer, that Verizon gets away with charging Netflix to give preferred service and bandwidth to Netflix. Netflix caved and they paid the money, and that is wrong. And here's why it's wrong. I pay Verizon for the bandwidth that I consume. It doesn't matter whether I'm watching Netflix or Amazon Prime, or I'm sending Jeff an email telling him, to go walk his dogs. I paid for that bandwidth. Verizon is double dipping by charging me for consuming a Netflix movie and then charging Netflix for delivering that movie. Who does that hurt? It hurts the consumer in the end, because what does Netflix do? Well, I got to pay Verizon more money, so I'm going to raise my rates. What does Verizon do? Hey, Mr. Consumer, you're consuming so much of that bandwidth, we're going to charge you more for it. We're going to put unreasonable demands of contracts and data caps and limitations in place. It's time for the FCC to step in and say these companies cannot treat consumers the way they have for the last 5 years. It's gotten out of hand, and it's time for it to be brought back under control.
I think if you pay the outrageous cost of what they're charging you, I mean, it's not outrageous. My girlfriend pays $45 a month for her internet. Of course, she has the lowest tier internet available, and she has a data cap of 250 gigabytes. Why is that allowed? Why?
Well, all of the providers have data caps in some form or fashion. Whether they choose to enforce them or not is on the individual provider. For instance, Cox Cable here has a data cap of 250 megs for most, but they just raised it to, 250 gigs, but they just raised it to 400 gigs. But even then, I average 1 terabyte of internet consumption per month myself. Now, of course, I have a business, and I am very heavily internet involved. So, I'm more than the average user, but at some point, when is it okay for a company to charge the consumer for the data consumption and also charge the company that's providing that data? That just doesn't make sense to me. They're double dipping.
I think T-Mobile kind of went the opposite way with their Google Play aspect there. T-Mobile, once upon a time, here recently actually, announced that if you do streaming through either Google Play Music and various other music services, that they won't charge you data.
Right.
I think that's where the internet companies should go, not the way that we're going.
Yeah, but there's a difference between that, a company like T-Mobile who's trying to break in, get in a larger share of the marketplace, to somebody who has the largest share of the marketplace, wanting to hold on to it, charge a premium, stop other people from coming into their market, merge with the East Coast and create one giant cable company, and then dictate the terms as they see fit. So I'm with Robert. I hate to say this, that I'm not big government in a stretch of the imagination, but someone needed to step in and treat these guys like they are, and they are a utility company. They are a utility, and I think it's wonderful that this is happening. And and the other thing is they opened it up. The comments section had 4 million comments on it. People reacted to it. So, if the public wants this to such a degree, I hate to say this, but these are politicians. Yes, they get paid by lobbyists and things like that, but eventually, the populace will win out. And
well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Jeff, because we've already got at least one Republican who is calling this Orwellian. And this thing, it's a 332-page document. And basically what he's claiming is that this is going to give our government way too much control over the internet. Now, while I am for net neutrality, okay, I'm not sure that I want given my government any more control than I haven't already given it through the NSA.
Well, sometimes government control is good. I don't want you don't want to see how the sausage is made sometimes, right? And you want someone to go through there and make sure that some things are done well. You want clean water, you want food that's not contaminated, you want government in some aspects of your life. And I think the same thing. It will even itself out. If it goes too far, it will adjust. But I think what's happening is everyone's scared, as Robert is saying, that things are moving in such a direction away from net neutrality that someone had to step in. And if the companies are not self-regulating and doing something about it themselves, in a good faith measure and being hoggish about things, as Robert's pointing out, then the government has to step in. Someone has to step in and do the right thing, or do something. And there's always going to be a person out there that says something is like the EPA is bad, or whatever. I think that you have to see how it plays out. But I'm glad that they're moving in this direction. That's kind of just me on this one, I think, and Robert, I think.
And I'm going to offer this as an example. Okay. When I was a young man, I remember, and I came from a very large family, calling my grandmother on the phone, who lived in Chicago. And each one of us got 60 seconds to talk to my grandmother. Okay? Why? Because it cost $1 a minute to talk to Grandma. So every one of us could talk to Grandma for 1 minute. My mom and dad would speak to her for a few more minutes, roughly about 10 minutes. That one phone call cost $10. Why? Because AT&T could. And it wasn't until the government came in and said, wait a minute, this nonsense has to stop. And we're talking about $10 back in the early 1970s, not $10 today like a $10 McDonald's hamburger. We're talking about $10 was a couple hours of work for the average consumer at less than $2 an hour minimum wage. So we had, at some point, our government step in and told AT&T, you need to stop this. You need to break up. You cannot control and abuse the public in such a way. And that is what they're doing now. They backed off. The FCC backed off for a long time, and that's why a lot of the baby bells have started to merge back together again. Bell South, which was an independent company, now no longer exists. It's AT&T. It's back to being AT&T again. And they pushed the same outrageous costs, contract obligations, for what is a necessity of modern day life. Communication and connectivity are absolute necessities. So our government, just like clean water is a necessity, there needs to be some regulation. And I don't say that they need to control. What they need is to oversight and say you cannot put unreasonable contractual or cost obligations on the consumer. And that is totally different from saying we're going to control where people can go on the web. Totally different argument altogether. So while somebody jumps up and argues Orwellian, then I start looking at, don't be ridiculous. We don't have to go that far. That's not necessary. But what is necessary for somebody to come in, crack the whip, and say, this is what is allowed and what is not. You develop your business plan by being fair to the consumer, you will do just fine with what Wheeler is proposing.
And remember that everything is built on you know, public land, on poles, on, you know, I mean, it's all going through you know, something that is public. So it's built on a backbone that has been developed and sustained by you know, a lot of different municipalities, and they just, you know, again, I'm with Robert on this. It's not so much of, you know, it's going to be where you can shop and where you can look and what you can do. It's basically, you know, you cannot operate in this environment, and in a monopoly and charge X and do this. You have to have some moniker of being a service that is, you know, for the good of the, you know, the populace or whatever. So I'm in agreement.
All right, hey Chris, you got anything you want to throw down on this conversation?
I think his ISP just cut him off.
Yeah, they didn't want to get a quorum on us, and so they just cut his opinion out. You know.
All right, hey guys, let's move into the app segment. But before we do, let me tell the folks both on Stitcher and the ones watching live, welcome everyone. Hey, we are Tech and Coffee. We are a Google Plus Hangout, been hanging out since back in 2010, and we'd love to have you join us. Hey, head on over to techandcoffee.info. You can learn a little bit about us there. Click on that coffee cup, come into the hangout with your favorite beverage. Hey man, let's talk technology. Hey, we've got a Twitter and a Facebook. You can follow us there at Tech and Coffee 1. Our YouTube is Tech and Coffee. Our favorite social network is Google Plus. Search for Tech and Coffee and click on that TNC logo. Catch this podcast and others on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and recently Player FM. Hey, send us a #TechandCoffee to Twitter, and we will get back to you. Questions, comments, and snide remarks, AJ at techandcoffee.info, man. Yeah, AJ at techandcoffee.info. Hey, while Chris is trying to solve his technical difficulties, Jeff, do you have an app for us, brother?
I do have an app, and let me do a couple quick things really fast. And my app, I've been searching, you know, I've been having, I used to use, I think, AccuWeather as my widget for my phone, and I've been experimenting with different ones, and I stumbled upon or started to use Yahoo Weather, and it's quick and responsive. I really, really like it. It's currently 61 degrees in lovely Napa. It's showing this picture of this brown mountain, but I can tell you we had a lot of rain and everything's nice and green here. But, you know, it has a nice little display, you know. It shows the, you know, the 5-day forecast and things that you want to see. It has one thing it doesn't. I don't like. It does have some ads because it's Yahoo, but you know, it tells you the humidity. You can pull up a radar if you want, the wind pressure, when the, you know, participation is going to start raining, and the, you know, your typical other stuff. But what I liked about it is how quick it was. You know, when I click on it, boom, it is right there, and I can see it. So if you haven't looked at the Yahoo Weather, I know this is a really quick review. It's not really a you know, huge app, but it does what it's supposed to do, you know, and I actually like it. So for me, that was a very quick little review. But Yahoo Weather, I think I don't know how many downloads they have on it, but it's constructed nicely, done well.
All right, very good, Jeff. Just out of curiosity, do you use any other Yahoo apps other than Yahoo Weather?
I do not.
Okay.
But you know, I think Yahoo is making a big play now into the search. I know they're the default search engine for Firefox, right? So, you know, I don't know if they're making a bigger push. So they'll probably come out with other apps, I'm sure.
All right, man. Very good. I'll tell you what, Chris is still working, so I'm going to go ahead and do my app. And guys, my app this week is Watchmaker. Now, I mentioned this last week, and I think it's a pretty cool app if you have an Android Wear device. And I'm going to show you guys just what Watchmaker can do. If you'll notice over here on the left, for anybody watching, I do have, and I just lost connection. Maybe not. I've got over here on the left my watch, and let's see. Okay, hold on here. I'm going to give this a whirl.
Is that the actual app that's up and running on the middle of your screen?
It looks like I have lost connection right here, just right when I started. So I'm not going to be able to do my review, guys. I apologize. Don't know what's up here, but yeah, because it's not even up with my phone, so I apologize. I'll tell you what, man, I'll just have to do Watchmaker next week because it's an awesome app for Android Wear, and I want you guys to be able to check it out.
One quick, what's the battery life been for you using the watch?
Battery life gets me through a day.
It does, okay.
Yeah, it gets me through a day, and I do enjoy the watch very much. I'm amazed at how much I'm using Google now. I'm talking to my watch all the time now. But, yeah, I don't know why I lost connection here with the TeamViewer, but it just dropped on me, and I don't want to take the time to sync it up. Hey, Chris, what do you got for us, man?
Well, as I was describing to you guys earlier, I do have a Moto X 2014, but it is currently in Texas at the moment, getting repaired. The leather backing decided to come off. So instead of doing a software app review, I'm going to do a hardware review. It is actually a charger. For some of you guys who have the HTC One M8s, the Notes, Note 4s, etc., etc., if you guys have a Quick Charge 2.0 enabled device, you may want to pay attention here in the next few minutes. I have here what is called a ChoiTech. So it's C-H-O-E, ChoiTech Quick Charge. Let's see, Quick Charge. They call it just Quick Charge 2.0. Simple as that. Basically, it gives you the Quick Charge ability for a fraction of the price of what Moto is charging you for it. Now, I've had the Moto Quick Charge, and I've also had this one. This one is a lot more convenient because it takes up just one outlet, whereas the Moto one takes up basically 1.5 outlets. So unless you have just one little area there, or one thing to plug in, it's not going to be very convenient for you. Whereas this one takes up just one. It's very thin, works pretty much the same, and the good thing is like the Quick Charge for Moto. It does have the backwards compatibility for the non-quick charge. So I can charge my Nexus 7 as well as my Moto X with this. Like I said, this thing's no frills. It was $14 on Amazon. I paid $19 after shipping because I have Prime and I did a one-day shipping because my lovely girlfriend lost my quick charge Motorola. I was very upset. But yeah, if you're looking for a no-frill quick charge for a good price, ChoiTech, C-H-O-E, ChoiTech on Amazon. Get it, and you will be very pleased.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Hey, guys, guess what? I'm reconnected with TeamViewer, so here we go, man. My review of Watchmaker, really quick. If you'll notice here, this is Watchmaker. It's got some featured watches that you can go ahead and grab. It's got some free ones, but I'm going to go over here to my watches, and you can see some that I've been working on here, and some I've gotten from Face Repo. But real quick, I thought I would make a watch face tonight for you guys. I'm gonna go This is one that I started just prior to the show, dropped the TNC logo into this watch face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize this watch. And what do I want to add? Well, I'd kind of like to add some markers around this. So I've got some markers here now. But you know what? I've got a square design watch, and I don't necessarily want these round markers. So I'm going to come down here and look here. Here's a thing called Squarify. And I run that thing out, and now I've kind of got some squared markers. So, oh, I hit the wrong button there. Let me go back here, customize watch. Now I'm going to hit the plus, and really, really quick, I am going to add, there's an hour hand. There is a minute hand, and I'll use that one. And I won't do the seconds now, but now I've kind of got this watch going. But you know what would really complete this is if possibly I was to add a date. And let's see, here's Friday, and I'll drop that right there. You know what? I'm kind of blending in. I don't really like that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down here to the text size, and I'm going to shrink that just a little. And to make that color pop, I'm going to pick a little bit different color for it. Now then, if you'll notice over here on the left, you'll see my watch. I am going to now load this watch face onto my watch. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to hit this icon, and there it is. Right here on my watch is the watch face that I just created in Watchmaker. It's that simple, guys. I have spent hours building these watch faces. It's a very powerful app, getting better all the time, has a very active Reddit and Google Plus community. This is Watchmaker. Guys, get the free version, play with it, and you'll be dropping $2 on that paid version in no time flat. What an awesome app. Watchmaker.
That looks.
This is probably one of the coolest things I've seen on Android Journal, actually. Really awesome. I have no other words for it.
Yes, it's a very cool app, and like I say, guys, I didn't touch I barely touched it. You can't believe. You can do things with the sensors, the pedometer, the gyroscope. You can do different calendar functions. Watchmaker rocks, guys. I'm telling you right now, if you've got an Android Wear device, you're going to want to grab Watchmaker for sure. Hey, guys, we got anything else this week?
I'm good.
All right.
Oh, I have one more thing to add about net neutrality. Apparently, my ISP was very angry about you guys talking bad about the ISPs, so it disconnected me twice, 2 or 3 times. So.
Hey, guys. Hey, give us a shout out on Twitter using the hashtag and coffee. Catch us on Stitcher and Player FM. We will catch you guys in 7. I'm sure we're going to be having more Samsung rumors and probably some good HTC rumors also as we get closer and closer to Mobile World Congress. Hey, guys, everybody have a great week. We'll catch you in 7. Peace out, everybody.